This is the title of the stream. Mojang hates Bedrock Edition confirmed. I don't have to dive in too deep to this because a lot of this is going to have to do with parity, and I'm not going to like go over each little individual like parity thing. But here's the broad point, okay? And I'm going to show you what sparked this. It was Echo Soldier's post on Twitter. And he's kind of reacting to something that's going on in the Minecraft community, Bedrock or Java community right now. So I don't know all of the exact details of these changes, but here's the basics of it. Mojang made a change to fix some kind of bugs that exist in the game with player movement. And it does something with like inconsistent player movement. And if you like click the right buttons at the right time and do the right thing, like the player can move faster. Essentially is what it is, okay? And these were bugs, so Mojang fixed them. They fixed the bugs. The very small but very loud parkour community, people that play parkour, like maps and stuff in Minecraft, they had a fit. Because these changes drastically changed what they were able to do by taking advantage of these bugs when doing parkour maps. And it made it so they can do less stuff. Okay? So they threw a fit. And then within like a week later, Mojang reverted the changes. So Mojang fixed 2 bugs to fix these inconsistent issues with player movements. A small portion of the Java Edition community did not like it. They voiced their opinions of it, that they didn't like the bugs being fixed. Mojang then right after comes out and they change it back because the players didn't like it. Echo Soldier. Looks like the Mojang devs listened to the community feedback. The movement changes have been reverted. If this was Bedrock, we'd have no choice but to accept it with no response. Can I get like a true? Type true in chat if you think that's true. If there was a bug fix or a change to Bedrock Edition that the players didn't like, would Mojang force us to accept it and not respond? Is that true? Everybody knows it's true. It's 100% true. Said I wasn't going to go over this list, and I'm not going to go over this list in detail, but I am going to pull up the list. Where is it? Here's the list. This is kind of small. Maybe I'll zoom in. I'm gonna name a big one. This is one that probably had some of the largest public outcry. Speculation, not speculation at all. I got receipts, my friend. Horses can no longer fit in boats. Everybody hated this change. There is not a single player on Bedrock Edition that saw this change. It was like, I like the fact that I cannot put a horse in a boat anymore. Nobody said this. Nobody. A lot of people, including content creators like myself, Echo Soldier, Toy Cat, etc., that loud and clear directly communicated to developers, tagged them. There's public outcry about it. What did Mojang do? They made it so horses can't go in boats. The model I think is bigger, Terrabin, yes. It made it so horses can't go in boats. Here's another one. This one's super recent. I'm gonna give you 2 more. Removed what direction you face on the map. For those that don't know, I'm going to draw a map. I'm going to draw a Bedrock Edition map. And Java Edition map. Okay? Just say this is your map. Bedrock. I can't write good. Bedrock before. Java plus Bedrock now. Okay. So what used to happen on Bedrock Edition is if you have a map and you are not on the map, your player does not appear on this map. Let's say you were above the map. Well, let's go to the side because I just have more room. Let's say you, the player, you're over here. Well, maybe we'll use a different color. Let's say you're over here. I don't remember exactly where it shows up, but this is the representation. It would show a circle, and then that indicating the player, and then it had this arrow. What this indicated was you, the player, you're off the map over here, but the arrow indicated what direction you were facing. So if you were off the map, if you're off the map and you were facing this way, you very easily knew, oh, I'm facing the wrong way. Let me turn and let me face the right way so I can get to this map. On Java Edition and Bedrock Edition now, this is how it works. That's it. There's no arrow. So if you're off the map, you don't know what direction you're facing. So to figure out, you can figure out what direction you're facing, right? Because the map is oriented in this way: south, east, west. So you got to figure out, okay, what direction do I need to go? By figuring out your cardinal directions in game, and then let me travel in that direction. Okay. Still not super efficient, because what could happen, what does happen a lot of times, is you could be up here. Well, what direction do I go? Because you have no clue. You could only be up 100 blocks this way and 5,000 blocks this way. And you could just travel and travel and travel in one direction. And then eventually you could end up like sliding all the way across, because your character's moving in this direction because you figured out the cardinal directions. Your character's moving diagonally, but because you're only off the map a few hundred blocks one way and several thousand blocks another way, eventually your character starts to slide across the map. And then you figure out again, okay, now my character's over here. Now I'm going to go down or whatever. So the Bedrock community, creators and players, very largely voiced their dissatisfaction of this. Very largely voiced their dissatisfaction of this. It was changed in the name of parity from Bedrock to Java. They took a feature that exists on Bedrock, the arrow, and they removed it to make it match the version of the game that does not have the arrow, Java. The Bedrock player base let them know, hey, we don't like this change. This just change doesn't make sense. It's quite simple, isn't it? If you're on the east side of the map. But dude, Kiwi, you don't understand the point. I feel like you're arguing just for the sake of arguing against me. I'm going to ask you this question. And I want you to give me an answer. Regardless of the fact that you can find which way to go this way, do you think that it was a good idea for them to remove this feature from the game? So meaning that somebody had to look at it and they had to say, okay, Bedrock Edition has this arrow thing in here. We're going to tell somebody to take their time to go into the game and remove it, because the player can just find their way anyways. Do you think that was a good decision? And then here's the second part of the question. Even if you did think it was a good decision personally, here's what we're comparing against. Here's how things are treated. Mojang they fixed a bug that affected inconsistent movement in the game, and a small subset of players that like to play parkour maps and that know about this bug and exploit this bug, they didn't like that the bug got fixed. So they got on Twitter and they voiced their opinion. We don't like that this bug that we enjoy exploiting so we could take advantage of parkour maps. We don't like that this bug was fixed. Mojang, Java Edition, heard them and said, hey, you know what? We're not going to fix the bug now. We're taking the bug fix back. We're going to let the bug stay in the game. 2 bugs. We're going to let these bugs stay in the game. Meanwhile, on Bedrock Edition, they directly went in and they removed a feature to make it match the featureless Java version of the game. This affects everybody that plays normal survival Minecraft. So again, for comparison, this change affected only people that knew how to exploit an existing bug that play parkour maps. This bug affected parkour map players that exploit a bug for faster movement. People complained about it. They changed it back the following week. This is a parity change that was made that affects all players of the game in some capacity. If you ever use a map, it affects survival Minecraft. Bedrock players and creators complained about it. Mojang didn't care, and they implemented it anyway. They did it with that. They did it with horses can no longer fit in boats. Here's an even dumber one. Well, I don't know if it's even dumber, but it's equally as dumb. Placing buttons on fences. Sounds kind of weird and obscure, right? I used to do this. You could place a button on the top of a fence post, and it added a level of detail to your fence post. That's all it did. I can add a level of detail to my fence post by placing a button on top of it. There were several of us at the time that this happened that complained about this, because not just because it's not like it ruins the game for us, but it was a negative change that was just dumb. It was a parity change. So somebody went into the game and was like, hey, on Bedrock Edition, they could place buttons on top of fence posts, but they can't do that on Java Edition. Let's take this out of Bedrock. Let's go in and remove it. And then players, myself and others, were like, hey, like we like that we can do this. Like, can you guys not get rid of that? Can you guys leave that in the game? And what did they do? They removed it anyway. They removed it anyway. So, backtracking to this. Very small subset of players that play parkour maps that know how to exploit a bug regarding movement in the game are using this bug in the game to get through parkour maps faster. That small subset of players complains about it. Mojang changes changed it like that. And we're not even talking about a change that Mojang is making to the game. We're talking about a bug fix. Mojang has pointed us out as this is a bug. We're fixing this bug so there's more consistent movement, because this would be good for players on average. This would be good for the average person that goes into a survival world. We want the average person playing in a survival world to have a consistent experience with the way their character moves in the game. Small set of players that uses the bug for their advantage in parkour complains about it. The next week, Mojang comes out and is like, whoa, 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 okay, yep. We hear you guys. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take this bug back. We're gonna put the bug back in the game. Here, something that every single person that plays survival Minecraft can utilize. They can place a button on top of a fence to make the fence look a little bit different and make it look cool. People complain, oh, wait, hey, can you guys not do that? Like, we like to be able to place buttons on top of fences. Can we just keep that? If this was Bedrock, we'd have no choice but to accept it with no response. Again, true or false in the chat right now. Is this statement true or is it false? If this was Bedrock, we'd have no choice but to accept it with no response. Enchanted Golden Apple regen nerfed. They did that recently. We used to get like regen 5 or something. Now we get regen 2. We don't need to poll it. Just give me the truths in chat. We used to get regen 5. Now we get regen 2. Bedrock players, we're like, hey, our regen, our health regeneration in Bedrock Edition is already lower than Java Editions. We have worse health regeneration in Bedrock Edition than Java Edition. We like that the Enchanted Apple has higher regen. It makes it more worth it to eat the Enchanted Golden Apple for those situations where we want to eat it. And in those moments, it also helps compensate for the fact that we have worse regen. Can you guys not make that change? Leave the Enchanted Golden Apple as it is. If this was Bedrock, we'd have no choice but to accept it with no response. Campfires set mobs on fire. A lot of people hated this change. A lot, especially farm makers and technical players. So this is analogous. What is it? I can't think of the word. This is similar to this situation, kinda, but it's not a bug. It was just a parity difference. You had a group of people that make farms that liked the fact that campfire set mobs on fire. I didn't see anybody say otherwise. Like, no, like they need to make this change. So subset of players complains about something. The bug fix gets reverted back. A subset of players that was using campfire setting mobs on fire to their advantage in farms. Analogous? Okay, I couldn't get the word out. Subset of players that makes farms that likes this feature, complains about it, tells them to not make this change. Mojang devs listen to the community feedback. The movement changes have been reverted on Java Edition. If this was Bedrock, we have no choice but to accept it with no response. True or false? True or false? My post. Mojang. Oh, Java players don't like this change. Let's revert it ASAP. Also Mojang. Oh, Bedrock players don't like this change. Let's remove something else and watch them cry. Tell me you hate Bedrock without telling me you hate Bedrock. True or false? Lie when you're funny. I have my evidence. The evidence is extremely clear. It doesn't mean that this is what they do 100% of the time. They did make a change that Java players don't like. They made it, they did this nerf. I'm not going to explain the whole thing. They nerfed the way that their gold farms work based on how zombified piglins aggro the player. It nerfed their farms. Generally speaking, the players didn't like it, but a lot of them did accept it and said, okay, we understand that, like, that's how it's supposed to work. But they didn't like it. Mojang did it anyways because they said this is how we like intend the game to work. There have been some instances the other way around where on Bedrock Edition, this is more a while ago. I can't think of anything recent. Well, on Bedrock Edition, they changed something and we complained about it and they fixed it. They did something that broke our gold farms. It was a change that had to do with the way the portal tiles flicker or something like that. And the community got in a huge uproar over it and they reverted that change. So it's not to say that this is 100% of the time how it works, but like it feels like Java Edition, they get listened to 90% of the time. And then 10% of the time, Mojang will hold their ground and keep the thing. On Bedrock Edition, it feels like the inverse. 10% of the time, they'll listen to us and we'll get to get the change reverted. 90% of the time, they make the change anyways. And I think that's being generous. What up, Maz? Pathfinding over buttons? That was something. That was a change that got reverted. Maybe I'm wrong. That's not no, they won't pathfind over buttons. But that is a good example, Zeroed. They were going to make it so the mobs also wouldn't pathfind over the coral fans, which is what they do right now. They took that out in the beta, and the Bedrock community got loud enough about it to where they reverted it, and they left it so the coral fans would still work. So I don't want to misrepresent and say it's 100% one way and 100% the other, but it is grossingly lopsided. Embarrassingly so. So one of two things is happening here. Like, just to keep it real, keep it in 100. One of two things is happening here. It could be some other things, but these are the ones I can think of. One thing is, I don't know how this is going to categorize out. It may be more than two things. We'll see. So one thing is that they have somebody making these changes on Bedrock Edition, and none of the developers that make decisions follow Bedrock people, so they don't see the outcry. Which isn't totally true because I have several developers following me. Echo has several developers following him. Toycat has several developers following him. And then we all have people in our comments that, you know, kind of voice what we're saying. And this King B Dogs and Olraf and Megaspud and Corner Heart, and there's others. But maybe it's the people that are making decisions don't see the outcry. So, but they see all the Java outcry because they are Java players themselves, and they follow all of these like higher number of Java creators. So the outcry feels larger. So they listen to the outcry on the Java side and they don't on the Bedrock side. That's a possibility. Another possibility is like a unrecognized bias. A lot of the decision makers are Java players, and they work in the Stockholm office, the one in Sweden. And they play Java Edition. They watch these Java creators. They watch stuff like MCC Rivals and that kind of stuff, right? And then when they see a change like this go in, and then they see somebody say something about it, they can relate. They're like, oh, well, I play Java Edition. Yeah, I can see how this change would negatively impact me as somebody that plays Java Edition and negatively impact these content creators that I watch on these events that I watch. So yeah, we're going to change that back. That makes sense. Like, I understand. I understand that because that impacts me. Whereas Keymaster, I don't think I'm gonna get on that. We'll save that rant for another day. Whereas horses can no longer fit in boats. If they do see that, they think, man, I mean, that's how it is on Java Edition right now. I'm fine with it. I don't see what the big deal is. We'll just leave it. We'll put the change through. It's fine. They'll get over it. They'll be all right. That's the other thing that could be happening. Or it could be because like these things are parody, right? I'm sure we could come up with some non-parody examples, but these are parody changes. Or it could be, oh, hey, the Bedrock Edition players don't like this change, or the creators don't like this change, but this is how it is in Java Edition. And like Java Edition is the original version of Minecraft. So this is how the game's supposed to work. So we have to make the games work the same. So we're just going to do the change because it's got to be like Java. And I play Java Edition. I work on Java Edition. That could be the thinking too. I don't know what it is, but it's something in one of those categories that's happening. Now, what I don't know is I don't know or understand who the heck is coming up with these. Who's the person that is like, okay, we're going to make a parody change today. And a parody change we're going to make is we're going to make it so horses can't fit in boats anymore. We're going to make it so people can't place buttons on fences. That's the parody change we're going to make. Like, why wouldn't they do, like, if you're going to spend a limited amount of developer time on something, why wouldn't your parody change be increasing the base regeneration rate of Bedrock Edition players to be in parity with Java, aka you improve something on Bedrock to make it as good as Java's is, because Java's is better in this case, instead of let's remove something. So you had two options: add something that's a benefit to the player, or remove something that takes something away from the player. And you pick the bad parody thing over the good one. You guys are giving other examples too. Sweeping edge. There's a bunch of them, right? There's a lot of parody things that we want. Like, why are big and small, by the way? And they're doing some of this. They're doing some of them, the good ones. But like, any of these could have just as easily been. Like, why aren't all of these positive changes? Like, why are we picking things that take stuff away instead of picking things that are just good? And then when we do pick these things, why are we then making the wrong decisions on them? The bad parody is cheaper? Maybe. So ultimately, the only conclusion that can be made in the simplest terms is Mojang as an entity hates Bedrock Edition. The proof is there, and you can't argue against the proof. The facts are the facts. True or false? In the words of my great friend Echo Soldier, if this was Bedrock, we'd have no choice but to accept it with no response. True or false? I'll leave you with that.